Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are talking old news, which is suddenly new news, which to clarify and to get in perspective, we're probably going to have to go back and have a look at some old news that isn't as old as the older old news, but which is still a bit older than the new news, because today, Internet, we are talking retcons. Ah yes, retcons. We all love retcons, right? Retcons will allow us to pretend that Highlander 2 never really happened, and that is a good thing. Thank you, retcon. It's how we know why people are good at the Force. It's because they have more midi-chlorians or something, and the Turtles are aliens now, because apparently Michael Bay hadn't dicked this franchise up enough. He had to go and set it on fire as well. And okay, fine, not all retcons are good, and there's a pretty solid argument that a well-written story, no matter how long running, should never have to resort to the old JR in the shower moment to make sense of what's going on. Which is why, when one apparently crops up out of nowhere in iconic established World of Warcraft lore, it makes all of us sit up and take notice. So, you know the Wrathgate, yeah? The seminal WoW cinematic, which is still right at the top of any fan's favourite moment list, which portrays Horde and Alliance forces, led by future Smolder Boy Bolvar and Saurfang Jr., storm the gates of Icecrown and call out the Lich King, only to fall victim to an unexpected Blight attack from Putres, because he and Varian and Jaina have totally rebelled against Sylvanas now, which is why you and Sylvanas and Thrall, or you and Varian and Jaina, storm the Undercity and take it back, and all is well. Now where were we? Oh yeah, the Lich King. Yeah, you know the Wrathgate, of course you know it, everyone knows it. Well, what if I told you that actually, way back in Wrath of the Lich King, Sylvanas not only knew what Putres and Varian and Jaina were up to, but that their actions at the Wrathgate were under her orders. And what if I told you that that's not even me making shit up, but the words of none other than the head story person, Aleksef Rossi RB, who apparently literally said as much in a recent Eurogamer article? What if I told you that, eh? So what actually is going on here? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it's what this video is about. And yes, I know there's been a couple of other really good YouTube installments about this already, but we've been making this video all week, and we might even surprise you. So join us as we ask, what did Aleksef Rossi RB actually say? What does it mean? Is it a massive retcon, as some are claiming, or does it actually totally fit with events as they've already been told? Basically, did Sylvanas order the Wrathgate? Okay? Go, 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 go. So before we start any kind of serious lore analysis or speculation, let's get clear exactly what Aleksef Rossi RB said and why that is even an issue when it comes to the story of the Wrathgate. In the Eurogamer article, he was musing on the player reaction to some of the more, let's call them controversial elements of the storyline in Battle for Azeroth, and he said, I've heard these I can't do an Aleksef Rossi RB impression, sorry. I've heard these discussions on the internet about she's going off the rails, but is she? I've been writing Sylvanas personally since 2006, and this is pretty much the Wrathgate and the Blight and the Forsaken in character. Those were all under Sylvanas' orders. What we're seeing now is an escalation of the plan Sylvanas has, clearly, and we're in the middle of that. Now, it's fair to say, there's a lot to unpack there, and in fact, there's a whole separate argument raging in some parts of the community about whether Sylvanas' actions this expansion actually are in character at all. But the key part for what we're talking about here is the Wrathgate and the Blight and the Forsaken. Those were all under Sylvanas' orders. And look, whichever way you cut it, the way Rossi RB has worded that sentence there definitely suggests that what happened at the Wrathgate, as in Putres popping up and indiscriminately killing everyone with Blight, was under the orders of the Dark Lady, which genuinely would be a really big deal for the lore. It would mean that many players would have to reevaluate not just how they view the story of Wrath of the Lich King, but also Sylvanas' role in that campaign and much of what happened in the expansions afterwards as well. Because the whole point of the Wrathgate, as most of us understand it, okay, the real main point is the kick-ass fighting, and the fact that such an involved and multifaceted cutscene had just never happened in WoW before. It pretty much set the cinematics department on the path to being the integral part of the game that they are now. But the other main point was that Putres was a rebel, a traitor, that his obsessive dedication to his work and research on the plague had driven him to plot with Varian and Jaina for years to overthrow his leader and take over the Undercity, and this was the moment all those plans came to fruition with a big, deadly reveal. That Sylvanas was at best careless and at worst a victim of the sinister machinations against her, and went on to lead a covert attack on her own city alongside Thrall in a show of loyalty to the Horde. But if this attack, if this slaughter happened because she ordered it, well, that definitely turns a lot of this on its head, doesn't it? The Wrathgate, the Blight, and the Forsaken, they were all under Sylvanas' orders. So as I see it, there are three distinct possibilities here. One, Aleksef Rossi RB misspoke or got it wrong. Now, this would not be the first time that a WoW lore head honcho had gone awry on on their own story, you know? If Metzen can do it, anyone can. We're all human beings after all. Apart from Brian Helinka, who's an oiled god like Adonis. I mean, shit, look at this dude. The man is 40 years old. You could use those abs as a climbing wall. And we all make mistakes. But really, I'd like to avoid that as a conclusion in this instance until we hear differently. Partly because it feels a bit smug and entitled to dismiss something the guy who literally writes the WoW lore says with, well, I know he's wrong, so he must have just dicked it up and got confused. He'll probably be along to tell us it was Thrall who tricked the orcs into drinking demon blood next, lol. And partly because, well, it doesn't not make sense. 2. This is a major revelation, and yes, in fact, Sylvanas did order the attack on the Wrathgate. She literally told Putres to get all his catapult buddies together and stand at the top of this hill, and when Arthas shows his face, seriously, just let him have it, and don't worry about collateral damage, because give a shit, just kill the Lich King, okay? That is my order. Or 3, somewhere in between. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, Taliesin, it's obviously going to be option 3, isn't it? That's the easiest one to explain while covering all the bases. You can say, well, yes, Sylvanas was sneakily ordering the development of the Blight. That's definitely true because it says so in Chronicle 3 and also explicitly in Northrend questing. But she didn't know that Putres and Varimathras were going to go rogue and turn the Wrathgate into a massive death party using the plague, and maybe she didn't even particularly care when it did happen. That's an explanation that fits in with all pre-existing established lore and pretty much what Afrasiabi said. We just have to cut him some slack for not being entirely clear when he said the Wrathgate, the Blight and the Forsaken, they were all under Sylvanas' orders. And to be honest, that's already the most popular explanation for all of this that the community and other creators have agreed on. So there's your answer. End of video. GG. See you for the weekly reset. But wait, because no, it may surprise you that when it comes to Sylvanas and the Wrathgate, I actually favour option 2. That Sylvanas Windrunner, the Banshee Queen, did specifically order Putres to launch the Blight attack at the Wrathgate. That it was her plan from the start, and in the next section, I'm going to explain to you not only how this makes sense, not only how it is not out of character for the Banshee Queen, and furthermore, most importantly, how this is not a retcon from events as they were presented to players at the time. So let's start at the very beginning of Vanilla WoW and your fresh-ish, new level 1 Forsaken character. Let's go to the very opening screen and have a listen to what our narrator has to tell us about what we can expect from our experience as an undead.
The Forsaken have entered an alliance of convenience. Harboring no true loyalty for their new allies, they will go to any lengths to ensure their dark plans come to fruition. As one of the Forsaken, you must massacre any who pose a threat to the new order, human, undead, or otherwise.
I mean, that's pretty explicit in the way it positions the Forsaken, and Sylvanas in particular, simply not giving a shit about the other races in the Horde, and being pretty single-minded in their mission statement to get revenge on the Lich King, killing whoever gets in their way to do so. And if you started a new Forsaken character during Wrath of the Lich King, this is the intro you would have seen. And having seen that, would you honestly have been surprised when you got to the Wrathgate and your boys started throwing Blight around like it was no big thing? Probably not. They will go to any lengths to ensure that their dark plans come to fruition. And number 1 on their dark plan to-do list is to rid the world of Arthas Menethil and the Scourge. It's her super motivation, her ultimate driving force, and it's absolutely in character that she would be willing to sacrifice a few thousand Hordes to see it. So is it believable that the Wrathgate, the Blight, and the Forsaken were under her orders? Yes, with big glowing green bells on. In Chronicle, we're told the plague had been created at her direction. Sylvanas was willing to take vengeance against the Lich King at almost any cost. Imagine you are Sylvanas. The Horde and Alliance forces are gathering outside Icecrown. This is meant to be the big climactic showdown with the guy who you want dead more than anything in the world. You just so happen to have a load of plague that you've been developing all expansion, loaded up and ready to go, specifically designed to take this guy out. At this stage, to not prepare your own surprise attack in the event that the Horde and Alliance can't finish the job would be a terrible military decision, frankly. So of course, as head apothecary and mastermind of the plague, she puts Putres on the case. Horde and Alliance attack. Arthas appears as planned and kills the Horde commander without even trying. He's clearly about to do the same to Bolvar. Basically, from your point of view, the living have had their opportunity and are blowing it, and there is absolutely no chance that you're going to let him get away when he's right there and you've got a bunch of catapults ready to pump him full of Scourge killing yuckness, so you order the attack. His first thought is that it must be you because it's so obvious.
Sylvanas.
And the truly tragic thing from your point of view is, it almost works. The Lich King is on his knees, coughing and spluttering, but he's just too powerful and manages to make it back inside. And if it had worked, what then? Wasn't this, as some have said, a self-defeating move by Sylvanas? Everyone would know it was her, and they'd be coming for her. Well, she doesn't care about the consequences. As we see later when Arthas actually does get defeated, with the Lich King dead, she has nothing left to unlive for, and throws herself from the top of Icecrown Citadel to her death. If the Blight plan had worked and Arthas had been killed at the Wrathgate, why would Sylvanas have cared about the consequences from the Horde and Alliance? She has no more purpose. She's achieved the only thing she desires. She's won. Honestly, when you think about it, it's actually less believable that Sylvanas wouldn't have ordered Putres to use the Blight at the Wrathgate. So I can totally buy that she did. And as for Putres and Varimathras and their coup, well, Chronicle tells us that Sylvanas lied to Thrall and Jaina in her account of the revolt, but that the Undercity rebellion, at least, was the truth. So how do we explain that? Well, if you're the Apothecary and the Dreadlord and you've been planning for years to overthrow the Banshee Queen, when would be a good time to do it? How about during a huge war when most of the Horde and Alliance, and indeed Forsaken, loyal to their queen, will be at the other side of the world? How about a time when Sylvanas would be distracted because her ultimate objective since vanilla, killing Arthas, is so tantalizingly in reach at last? How about after Sylvanas has just ordered a huge and horrific attack that will make her public enemy number one with both factions? Hey, maybe the Horde and Alliance will actually execute her for you. Fair play, it's actually a pretty good plan from our two conspirators, which may even have worked. Had Sylvanas not done such a good job of convincing Thrall and Jaina that Putres had gone against her orders in launching the Blight. As Chronicle says, like most good lies, Windrunner's account contained some truth. So with all that in mind, I believe that if Sylvanas did order the Wrathgate attack, it would have been believable, in character, totally fitting her predetermined motivations and methods, and even predictable. But is it a retcon? Before we answer that dreaded question, I'd like to take a look at two different instances of WoW lore changing over the years. Example number one, the Eredar. In the original Warcraft lore, the Titan Sargeras didn't turn bad and flamey all by himself, he was corrupted by the demonic Eredar. However, when the Burning Crusade expansion came rolling around and Blizzard decided that what WoW players needed most was a new playable space goat race, even if they didn't quite know it yet, this was changed so that Sargeras was in fact corrupted by the horrors that he'd seen on his space mission, and had later then corrupted the super smart, ultra civilized Eredar to be on his side, at which point the ones that were up for it became more red and demon-like, and the ones that weren't ran away and became the Draenei. Now, this is flat out, bare bones, a retcon. The story was specifically one thing: the Eredar corrupted Sargeras, and Blizzard changed it to a different thing. Sargeras corrupted the Eredar. No two ways about it, the lore was changed. Example number two, Antorus in Legion, and the revelation that Sargeras had captured the souls of the Titan Pantheon that he had previously slain, and was attempting to corrupt them into a new Dark Pantheon, a process he'd already successfully carried out on Agramar. Now, this, too, goes against what we knew of existing lore. As far as we were aware, Sargeras had slain the Titans, they were dead, but then in Chronicle we found out that although their physical beings were destroyed, their souls were thrown out across the universe, where they cried out in the minds of their Watcher constructs on Azeroth, and then faded away. And now, here we are in Antorus, and it turns out the souls were always still out there, hiding on a far-flung planet in Ionar's case, and that Sargeras has spent millennia finding them, imprisoning them, and trying to corrupt them. So that's another retcon, right? No lore has been changed here, only expanded on. We have simply learned more about what happened. So in the original lore, Sargeras killed the Pantheon. That remains true, except in Chronicle we learn that though their bodies were killed, their souls lived on, albeit very weakly. Then in Legion we learn that those souls retreated across the cosmos. None of this though changes the original event of Sargeras killing the Titans. It just gives us more information, told us things that we hadn't expected or thought of, and that is not a retcon. That's simply telling more of the story, and I would argue that's what Sylvanas ordering the Wrathgate would be. In the original lore, the Wrathgate happens, everyone thinks it's Sylvanas, then Sylvanas comes along and says, I was already on my way here. Oh, it's terrible. There's been a rebellion in the Undercity, Putres and Varimathras are in charge now, and basically anything terrible that's happened recently, especially involving the Blight, is all down to them. Even Thrall doesn't really believe her, and it's only Jaina's constant matchmaking trying to make Horde and Alliance fall desperately in love that means there's not a whole other war that breaks out about it. Instead, the Horde and Alliance lead their own assaults and take out Putres and Varimathras Athras respectively, Jaina stops them fighting, and good old definitely not Blighty Sylvanas is reinstalled as Forsaken leader, where she instantly starts making more Blight and raising undead at the beginning of Cataclysm. Yeah, I know, right? And if what Afrasiabi says is true, if Putres did attack on Sylvanas' orders, it's not what we thought happened, because it's not what Sylvanas told us happened, but it doesn't change anything that is set in stone in the events of the game. All of that still happens, we just know a little bit more about why. So, like Antorus, and unlike the Eredar, this is not a retcon. It's us, the player, becoming privy to more information than we had before. It's us learning what actually happened, and whether Aleksef Rossi knew Sylvanas had ordered the Wrathgate when he wrote it or not is completely irrelevant. In fact, as I've said before, I actually find it more believable that she did order it, all things considered. Now, we were aiming to get this video out on Tuesday. It's obviously taken a lot longer than that, and it's quite possible that by the time we even publish, Aleksef Rossi has come out and said, yeah, my bad everyone, slip of the tongue, obviously Sylvanas didn't order the Wrathgate, I just misspoke. And that's fine too. All I'm saying here is that in my opinion, it makes total sense that the Banshee Queen, who at that stage only cared about killing Arthas over anything else, whose Forsaken players had been told when they started the game that they would need to be prepared to do whatever it took, massacre human, undead, or otherwise to achieve those aims, and who then committed suicide when Arthas finally was killed. In my opinion, there is nothing strange about learning that she was behind the Wrathgate. Actually, her being the brains behind Wrathgate and not giving a shit about any of the Horde or Alliance, and then successfully totally pinning it all on some idiots who just started a revolution against her, makes her considerably more badass in my opinion. And listen, you want to cry about a retcon at Wrathgate? What about the bit where Chronicle suggests that Saurfang Jr. died to the plague and not because the Lich King stabbed him and sucked out his soul? Because seriously, Blizzard, what the hell is this shit? I saw how Saurfang died, Blizz. Do you seriously expect me to believe that he died to this shitting plague? So what do you think, guys? Given what Aleksef Rossi, man, I'm sorry, but I just really like saying that name out loud, I don't even care, said, what do you think Sylvanas' role in the Wrathgate actually was? Do you buy that she was completely behind it? Or do you think it was just referring to her ordering the production of the Blight? Or do you think Afrasiabi was just on a total trip in Mission 2K18 and went completely off the rails here? Let us know in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make them happen. Without you guys, there would be a lot less Taliesin and Evitel videos, so thank you. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Aleksef Rossi. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evitel. Until next time, cheerio.